This segment is brought to you by Gin Gators. We sink our teeth into service.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. And you know it's the first week of June. What does that mean? It means it's hurricane season. So what do? We check in with our representatives at Entergy so we can figure out the best way to be prepared. Welcome back to the program, Paula Rome.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
All right.
How are you today?
I am very well. Thank you. Of course, Paula Rome is an MBA, Entergy-Louisiana Bayou Region Customer Service Manager, which means anytime there's an issue, somebody's calling you.
Yes, sir.
And now we can tell them exactly how to go about doing this. We can look at our preparations and what we need to do. I love the fact you have a little slideshow for us. Let's roll through that and let people know how we can be better prepared.
Absolutely. Well, you know, at Entergy, we know storm response. We do it every day.
Right.
Unfortunately, it's not just during a hurricane season. Last year, we dealt with a winter storm, correct?
Right.
Tornadoes, even just a big spring thunderstorm has been causing some havoc to our weather.
Right.
So, you know, we are always storm ready, and we also have mutual aid all the time. So we have other utilities that are always helping us, that come to our aid when we need help, and we go out and help them as well.
Right. It's a wonderful collaborative that you guys have to be able to help each other.
It is. You know, and we're storm ready all the time, all year long. We're doing inspections of our lines. We're doing maintenance of the lines, and we're taking care of the vegetation.
Right.
Anything that would fall on any of our primary lines.
Okay.
We do that. We take a data-driven approach. So we look at things by saying, hey, you know what, Keith, your area has had an outage, 6 times in the last year. So we need to analyze that, do an assessment, do some inspection and maintenance. So we're doing that year round.
Right. And keeping to make sure the vegetation, knowing those power lines are protected or what we need to cut back. Y'all are doing that all the time. We see y'all.
And listen, if customers have a concern, especially this time of year, to start looking around their house and saying, I have a tree in my yard that looks a little bit close to that power line, you can call Entergy at any time and we will come turn off the power for you so you can safely cut it down and then turn it back on same day.
Nice. Very nice.
So there's a lot of different things that Entergy is doing. Most importantly is that we have our resiliency plan that was approved last year.
Okay.
So you see on the screen a bunch of the big numbers. What this is going to equate to is that we are hardening our grid.
Okay.
So you are seeing projects already in Lockport and Montague where we are coming in, instead of the wood poles, we're putting in steel poles. If you see wood, steel, whatever you see, they are rated at 150 mile per hour. So the big cost of this project is for the next 5 years. The Public Service Commission granted us $1.9 billion.
Wow.
We will see hundreds of millions of that just here in the Bayou region, just in Lafourche and Terrebonne and Assumption. And that's mainly because we're the most hard hit for a storm.
Right.
And we need the help.
Right.
So when you have an outage, whether it's hurricane related or if it's just every day, there's multiple ways you can contact us. We have a mobile app. You can text us at Entergy and let us know that you have an outage.
Okay.
My Entergy is our website, which is very robust. You can get on there. And then, of course, there's an easy way for just to call us, 1-800-9-OUTAGE, to let us know there is an outage. Now that we have these smart meters, in the majority of customer homes, those alert us right away.
Yes.
But I always tell a customer, if you're concerned, call us again. It doesn't help to send a text and let us know.
Right.
But during a storm, we connect with our customers in a multitude of ways.
Right.
But the most important thing with that, Keith, is that customers need to make sure their contact information with Entergy is up to date. Some people start their Entergy account maybe 10, 20 years ago, and those numbers no longer exist.
Right.
If we have to contact you, we contact you based on the email and the phone number you give us.
Right.
Which is even more important right now with some of this resiliency work, because if we're going to plan an outage for a few hours in your area to fix the poles, the way we let you know that that's coming is through text message and robocalls.
Right. And those go out very well and are so they're immediate. You can get them right away, but Entergy has to have your information. It needs to be correct.
Yes, and so we connect. There's different ways to stay in touch with us during a storm besides just messaging. We send out notifications, okay? That would be your automatic text messages.
Right.
You sign up on My Entergy to put that in. We have a Storm Center webpage that we keep to date, everything storm related in one spot for everybody, and that's EnergyStormCenter.com.
Right.
Social media is obviously a big place to look. Although when we report on social media, Energy has so many, encompasses the whole state, you might not get the detailed information you want.
Specific to your area.
Correct. So what Energy has done recently is now we have a view outage map, and you can find that on our app. Which you can see on there. On the next slide is we're going to have some detailed outage maps.
Nice.
The first one is like that pre-storm layer. It's probably what you see every single day. You know, the little red line shows if your house is out and that kind of stuff. But during a storm, we're going to take that to a different level. The first step we do is assessing the damage. And so we're going to be able to provide a map to the public to show, hey, this is the damage and this is kind of how we see it's going to be assessed. What we really like is that last part of that outage map, that in the middle of a storm, we will better give estimated restoration times based on your area. You know, we might get an estimated restoration time instead of just like all of Southeast Louisiana. You may see an estimated restoration time just not for Houma, but maybe like just of east side of Houma. Right. Just Martin Luther King area. It's going to be breaking down to that level, so people can hopefully plan better for when they can come back home.
When they return. And so some great information. And again, it's not only the expedience of knowing and getting that information right away, it's about how to reach out and contact y'all, and it's about letting people know. And I can tell you, for the winter storm, when there were outages, we knew exactly where and when they were coming back on. Y'all were very, very good about that. So you're exactly right, Paul. We know that information based on that. So some really good information. We've got a whole lot more to cover. We're going to take a short break if that's okay.
Absolutely.
And we'll come back and go over all of that stuff and let everybody know what our plan is and how we're going to do that. All right, guys, Paula's going to stick around with us. You do the same thing. We'll be right back right here on Bayou Time.
This segment was brought to you by Gin Gators. We sink our teeth into service.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us, however you may be joining us. We appreciate it. And very glad to have with us again Ms. Paula Rome. Paula, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Keith.
All right. Yes, Paula, talking about energy storm preparation. She's with Entergy-Louisiana, Bayou region. She's a customer service manager. We were talking a little bit about the expedience that we're going to get information, being able to look at some of those mappings and see when things are going to come back on. Let's talk a little bit about restoration.
Yes, sir. Restoration to Joe Blow resident may look a little crazy. We get calls all the time that say, you know, Paula, I see the transformer. Just tell them the transformer blew up during the storm. Can y'all just come fix the transformer? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that. The first thing we do is we prepare before a storm. We work with those mutual aid utilities to have them close and ready to be on feet on the ground as soon as the storm can pass safely. So we work with them. We also stockpile a lot of equipment that we may need, additional posts, transformers, that kind of stuff. Immediately after the storm, we go out and do an assessment. Right. We do that in a lot of different ways. We do that by helicopter. We do that by drones, marsh equipment when it's out in the marsh. Sometimes it's just feet on the ground that we can't get a vehicle to it, but we have to walk out the line. Right. So we're doing that. Next, we have to make sure that our power plant, where the power is being generated, is working correctly. Right. Can't turn on your power until that's done. And a lot of this different step we do parallel. So we have different teams doing it at the same time. Right. And then next they have to look at the transmission lines, the big high power lines that you see crossing the highways and along the highways. If there's a fault there, the power cannot get to your house. Right. Right. Then obviously we go to the substation and then the distribution lines and poles that you see on the side of the road by your house. Right. And then after we know that all the infrastructure in place to get power to your house is safe, the next step is that we start restoring essential personnel first. Right. So that is police stations, fire departments, hospitals, the things that people need for us to get back up and running. Yep. So we do this in a very systematic way. Strategic, all at the same time. And then obviously that gets to your neighborhoods and your individual homes.
And that's only when winds are under 30 miles an hour.
Correct. You are correct. We cannot go out. It's very unsafe for us to go out at that time. Right. So at Energy, we monitor, we mobilize, and we act, and that's what we call storm ready. Okay. And above all, it's to stay safe. You mentioned those miles per hour. Right. I get a lot of those questions when we have a pop-up storm that is a little bit crazier than we expected.
Right.
Customers will call and say, well, how long is my power going to be out? Like, well, I need to wait till we can safely
Right.
get out there first.
Yeah, we got to go out and assess to let you know. It's just not that easy.
And we understand we live in a world where everybody's used to instantaneous information. Energy is trying to do that, but we have to do it safely.
Right. And quite frankly, we wouldn't do it any other way. If, you know, I see all the time people with signs and with bumper stickers, you know, thank you, linemen.
Yeah.
You know, and that's because we need them, but we also need them to be safe.
Correct. You know, our mutual aid groups that come in, you would think that they would not be jumping up and down to come to South Louisiana in 100-degree weather after a hurricane with lines down. But they say the people here treat them the best.
Well, if you want to get a good meal after a hurricane, that's the best way to do it. Come
That's
to South
correct.
Louisiana to get some help. We appreciate those guys and what they do.
Yes.
And we appreciate y'all.
So, you know, we want our customers. Well, first, let me point out that obviously the most dangerous time of a storm is right after it passes.
Yep.
People want to get on the road and go ride around. That is the most dangerous time. There could be live lines on the road. There could be trees blocking it. It is the most dangerous
Yeah,
time.
let's leave that to you guys and emergency personnel.
That's correct. So, you know, we want our customers should be preparing ahead of time too.
Okay.
And I know they get a lot of this information everywhere, but you need to make a plan, make a kit, make sure you have the stuff, make sure you have emergency supplies. Be prepared to not have power for a few days. If you need medications, be prepared for what you need at your home. Prepare your home, you know, cover your windows with plywood from debris, trim your trees and your shrubs around the area, clean out those gutters, bring in patio furniture. You know, you would be surprised what a trampoline or patio furniture can do if it hits our power lines after a storm.
Oh, yeah.
And as the storm approach, you know, make sure that you are paying attention and getting all the notifications so you know what's going on.
Gotcha.
And most importantly, Keith, this next slide, I like to show our customers because, you know, it gets to the point they go through all the restoration, all of a sudden all their neighbors have power and they don't. This is a quick way to explain to people that you need to check your electrical equipment attached to your house after a storm. You don't want to wait till your power don't come back on. So Entergy is responsible for that service line and that meter. But there's a weather head on there. There's some attachment hardware. There's a service stack, piping that your wire's in. Check those things before, because if everybody else in your neighborhood gets power and you don't, it's likely because there's something wrong
An issue
with
there.
your equipment. So we just want everybody to join us in being prepared. Now's the time to start thinking of that. We've seen crazy weather come up the last few years, so let's just be prepared for anything that comes our way.
Well, and you know, it's one of those things where this is all of us, right? Every one of us need to be aware and prepared. We need to be on the lookout for information, and we need to have a plan ahead of time like y'all do. And that's the best way that I think we can partner with Entergy and everybody that's really trying to help us after the storm. We can help ourselves by being better prepared before the storm. We know that y'all are working really hard and getting everything ready. Hurricane season is here upon us. Hopefully it's not as bad as it's been the last few years, but we look forward to doing it together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you, Paula. All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment, but don't go anywhere. I got a whole lot more right here on HTV.
This segment was brought to you by Trapp Chevrolet. We're always on your side.